So hello guys, today I'm going to be making a research chemical tier list. So I'm going to be rating these chemicals based off my subjective experience with them. So let's get right into it. The first one is 1,CP-LSD. This chemical is essentially indistinguishable from LSD. I've had pretty mixed experiences with it in terms of enjoyment. Usually when I mix it with cannabis, it gets pretty wild, too wild. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a B tier. Pretty standard stuff. Yeah. This stuff has pleasantly surprised me. This is 2CB Fly. Now it has nice psychedelia, great music enhancement, especially when mixed with cannabis. Also has some wonderful visuals, and yeah, it's just a nice substance. I've only gone up to doses of 10 milligrams, but I'm planning on going higher in the future. Yeah, solid B tier. This stuff, 2-fluoro-Deschloroketamine, 2-FDCK. This stuff is almost indistinguishable from ketamine. It has the same wonkiness, this type of, just a very nice substance, yeah. Pretty popular among the RCs as well. And it's also pretty introspective, but it's hard to hold on, so yeah. Now this substance here, this is 2-methyl-AP237. This is the 2-methylated version of bucacine, which is a synthetic opioid used in China to treat cancer patients. This is the synthetic opioid. You just want to stay away from this stuff because not only is it super addictive, it's also incredibly caustic. Like this stuff, like you take it on an empty stomach, and about 10 minutes later, it feels as if like this stuff is eating through your stomach. This is intense, yeah. And you come across people who say they've snorted this stuff, like their nose must be built different, or their sense of smell has been gone a long time ago. But I don't know, yeah. It has a nice rush that lasts about 20 minutes, but the entire high lasts roughly about 2 hours, so that's not worth it. It's like just leaving you with an urge to redose, so yeah, stay away from this crap. This stuff here, 3-fluoromethamphetamine. This stuff has let me down as well. It has some recreational potential that lasts about an hour after you dose, but after that you're just left with some dirty stimulation, which is very unfunctional, and it's not very nice. It's not nice. It's not functional. It's not recreational. It's really just a very boring substance. It's also very harsh on the cardiovascular system, very high blood pressure and heart rate. Also the fact that it lasts 16 hours, so if you take it in the afternoon, there's literally no way you're gonna sleep without the aid of a benzo. So yeah, that's straight E tier for me. Next we have 3-hydroxy-PCP, 3-HO-PCP. Now that stuff scares me a little bit because it seems so innocent, so relaxing, so chill at lower doses. But as soon as you go like above 10 milligrams when you snort it, it gets incredibly psychotic and dysphoric. Really, this is the type of stuff that makes people insane. I'm gonna give it a C tier because it's fairly enjoyable at lower doses. But yeah, I can't recommend going above like 7 milligrams if you want an enjoyable experience. This right here is 3-methyl-PCP, which has a lot of the properties with 3-HO-PCP, only I think it's a bit more compulsive, right? Like you're just gonna want to redose until you dose too much, and then you're just kind of going insane. No, this stuff is really nothing to mess around with, but yeah, I'm gonna give it a D tier. It's not terrible, but I personally don't see how you can really enjoy this. Up next, 3-MMC, a very, very popular cathinone. Now this stuff, I'm gonna say straight up, if you can consume it responsibly, this is one of the most wonderful substances you will encounter. Most people can't, so yeah. If you consume it orally, it offers the most heavenly euphoria that feels like a mix between cocaine and MDMA. Really, euphoria of such intensity you've never come across if you've never done it, or methadone. But as soon as you start snorting it, which feels like twice as euphoric as coke and lasts at least twice as long, that's when you're really on the slippery slope, because this stuff is insanely addictive, and I've personally had a lot of trouble with it because my use spiraled out of control. So yeah, but if you can consume it responsibly, I would say this is an S tier. Most people can't, so I can just advise, if you have weak self-control, just stay away from it, because yeah, it's not gonna make your life any better. This stuff here, it's a bit cut off, but this is supposed to be 4-hydroxymethyltryptamine. This stuff, it's a wonderful psychedelic. It's really very mellow headspace, very forgiving. Also great visuals. Really, it's very visual while being very mentally tame. Like you can basically always control your headspace, at least for me. I've done it many, many times, and every single time I've had a great time on it. So this has to be an S tier. Great psychedelic, wonderful. Now this substance here is supposed to be 5-MAP, the benzofuran analog of MDMA. This stuff, it feels very different from MDMA. Like, you can easily distinguish the two. This stuff is much more sedating, and it has none of the magic that MDMA has that is so talked about. It is not psychedelic at all. It's just really that feeling of love. That's everything. That's all, right? So usually I combine it with psychedelics. So I really get those interesting effects from the combination of the two. But other than that, it's a great substance, really. This right here, 5-MeO N-methyl N-isopropyltryptamine, 5-MeO MIPT. This is also a very interesting substance because it has very unique effects. Kind of like a mix between a psychedelic and an entactogen, but it also has a very interesting body high, and it also has great music enhancement, especially when you mix it with cannabis. This is really some of the best music enhancement you can encounter. Apart from that, it's a great aphrodisiac as well. You just want to make sure not to use too much of it, because one time I used 15 milligrams and it literally wrecked my stomach. Like, I had severe stomach bloating and an extremely intense, uncomfortable body load. Yeah, it was just terrible. But if you stay like below 30 milligrams at most, you're almost guaranteed to have a wonderful time on it. Yeah. The next substance is 6-aPHP. This is the benzofuran analog of MDA. This stuff is very different from 5-MAP, in that it is pretty stimulating and also significantly psychedelic. I refer to it as the best substance you can take at raves or parties. It's really it's the best substance for such an environment. Yeah, easy S here. Now this stuff is alpha-PHiP. Yeah, I've never vaped it, and vaping seems the way to go with it, but I've read all of the horror stories of people that have ended up on the street running around and screaming. I'm not really into that, so I'm not gonna vape that. I have, however, snorted it a couple of occasions, but yeah, I've never got any pleasant effects other than an intense urge to redose, despite no pleasant effects. Like really, that's an F tier. I'm sure it's different when you vape it, but I can't judge on that. a-PHP, the next substance. This one offers euphoria even when it's snorted, and this stuff is so fucking compulsive and so addictive. Like, dude, I have vaped it on one occasion, a very small amount, and I've got that dopamine rush that everyone's talking about, and it was really just it was really just heavenly euphoria. But this is the type of stuff that that makes you end up like a crackhead. Yeah. So yeah, this stuff, all that, very interesting psychedelic. This is the substance with the steepest dose response curve I know of, like 150 micrograms of this stuff will be pretty mellow, whereas 300 micrograms are barely handleable. Like, it's so fucking intense. Also, this stuff has wonderfully unique visuals. It's as if there is another layer of depth. Every object has this certain depth to it. Yeah, it's really very unique, very colorful visuals that I can't compare with LSD or tryptamines. Very unique. So yeah, that's an easy A tier. This stuff, Bromazolam, I've never personally consumed Bromazolam recreationally. I've only used it as a landing gear for stimulant binges, and it does its job well. It's pretty euphoric as well, mildly euphoric, let's say. Yeah, I can't really judge too much on that. It's the brominated version of Alprazolam. I'm gonna say that. It's a B tier. It's a good benzodiazepine. Now this stuff right here is Brorphine. This is a potent synthetic opioid. I just want to make sure that you stay away from this, because basically what this stuff does is it destroys your opioid receptors. So it irreversibly increases opioid tolerance, and thus also the tolerance to natural endorphins. So you're not going to be able to feel happiness anymore if you consume too much of it for the rest of your life. And it also has very cardiotoxic properties. And it isn't even recreational, it's not even enjoyable. It's pretty sedating, and never use this substance, please. This is really just toxic crap. This stuff right here is Clonazolam. I've personally tried my best to stay away from it, but obviously I have consumed it on 2 occasions or so. And it has a nice relaxing buzz. Can definitely see how it's pretty addictive. But for me the downside is it lasts very long. This is just a huge downside that benzos have for me, so it's an E tier for me. This stuff super addictive, can easily just completely wreck your life. So I cannot recommend getting into this crap. Up next we have Deschloroketamine. This is a substance that has very mixed opinions on. I personally never really got anything special from it. Like, it feels like cold, blank dissociation, emotionlessness, and it lasts pretty long, and in higher doses it gets very uncomfortable. There is nothing really special to it. It's just a textbook example of a dissociative. Just dissociation and nothing else. Pretty bland for me. There are some people, however, that claim that it's a wonderful substance for them, but that's not the case for me, so I'm gonna put it in a D tier. Yeah. Up next we have DMXE. Now this stuff is just one of the greatest research chemicals that I know of. It has an incredible euphoric serotonin rush. It is also pretty psychedelic, has beautiful visuals. Yeah, it's just really a wonderful substance. However, the one downside for me is I never really managed to recreate that first couple these first couple of highs that I got from it. It never really got to that point anymore. But still, it's pretty enjoyable substance. Personally, still enjoy it a lot, so it's a easy 8 here for me. Definitely one of the best dissociatives that I know of. Up next, we have DXM. I know very well that this is not a research chemical, but I just wanted to include it either way because I think it's highly underrated. I have to say, personally, I've never gone above the second plateau because, I don't know, I never really got to it. But every time I had with it was just a wonderful time. It has this very unique body load and this warm dissociation, very euphoric as well. I don't see how people can hate this, honestly. This is, in my opinion, one of my favorite dissociatives. So I'm going to put DXM to the 8 here. Up next, we have Flualprazolam. Now this stuff just feels... This stuff is just pure sedation and hypnosis. There is no euphoria to it. It's just really, pure sedation, pure, hypnosis. There's no recreational potential. Okay, up next, we have Flunitrazolam. Now, Flunitrazolam is a super potent benzodiazepine. I have personally only gotten strong headaches from it. Like, every time I took it, like 20 minutes later, I'd have a very strong headache, and it just makes me feel like shit. There are many people that share this experience apparently on Reddit, but there are also some people that claim it's pretty recreational. I would like to speak to those people because I can't see that at all. So for me, Flunitrazolam gets F tier. Now this stuff is methoxyisopropamine, MXiPr. This stuff is pretty interesting. It also has a nice serotonin rush while being a dissociative. But this stuff can make you pretty much insane at higher doses. Like, it's pretty... I don't know how to put this. It can be pretty warm and euphoric at lower doses, but the mental impairment can be incredibly intense at higher doses. So, for me, this gets C tier. It can be pretty enjoyable though. Now this is methoxypropamine, MXPr. This stuff people seem to hate a lot. That is because in higher doses it has no recreational potential. However, in lower doses, I found it's the greatest antidepressant substance I've personally encountered. It's really, no matter how depressed you are, or at least for me that was, after such an experience, I would feel all this positivity. It's really quite incredible. So, not really recreational if you want to get high as fuck, but great therapeutical potential, in my opinion. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. Up next we have N-ethyl-hexedrone. Now this stuff, this is the most euphoric stimulant I've personally done. And yes, it beats 3-MMC. This stuff is so euphoric when snorted, and so compulsive. As soon as that euphoria hits, all you're thinking about is the next dose. Like, you cannot control yourself on it. And this is pretty scary. I've got quite moderately addicted to it. And this stuff really, I can never forget this stuff because this is just really incredibly euphoric stimulant. Now, the euphoric part only lasts about half an hour. After that, you're just left with 5 hours of very uncomfortable stimulation. And if you redose, you easily get into psychosis, like so quickly. Yeah, be careful with this stuff. Best to not try at all. But it is pretty euphoric. Like, damn, this stuff is very euphoric. So I'm gonna put it in Z tier just because of how addictive this stuff is. Now here we have N-ethyl-pentedrone. This stuff, I've never really got anything from it. It's, yeah, I don't know, no euphoria basically, and just some compulsiveness, but it leaves me very scatterbrained, and it's not very enjoyable at all. I'm gonna give it an E tier. But a lot of people seem to love it for some reason, whatever. I don't get it. Anyways, moving on. This right here is O-DSMT, O-DSMT. This substance is just wonderful. I just got to say this is one of my most favorite research chemicals. This stuff really, yeah, this is an easy S here. It just feels wonderful. It's a warm euphoria, the perfect opioid, you could say. Especially when you boof it, there is a nice euphoric rush that you get. And also it lasts pretty long. It lasts 6 hours. There's basically no urge to redose because it lasts so long. But it is pretty addictive as well. Got to say this. Now, what do we have here? This is O-PCE. O-PCE is a pretty interesting dissociative because the experience is basically made up of two parts. The first part is just identical to a stimulant. It's just intense stimulation and little cognitive impairment. And the second part is just intense dissociation and mental impairment and psychedelia and also quite a bit psychotic. I wouldn't want to go on too high doses with this stuff, also as it's pretty potent. So yeah, but it can be pretty much enjoyable. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. The next substance, Troparil. Now this substance is in structure very similar to cocaine. Yeah, there are two different batches going around, or at least two different batches. One batch is just straight up garbage shit. I've unfortunately got this batch, and I can tell you, this stuff literally wrecked my nose. Like, this is the most caustic shit I've ever snorted. And it really, I couldn't smell like for days after. It was so damn caustic, yeah. Incredible chemical stench that was really, really disgusting. And I got zero effects from it. So that's the worst crap I've ever done to my body in my life. But I'm sure this was not pure Troparil if it was even Troparil in the first place. So my experience of it was an F, but if you got your hands on some pure Troparil, I'm sure your opinion will be different. But anyways, thanks for watching. I'd be very glad if you can leave a comment, some feedback, or share your personal opinions. Yeah, see ya.